Okay, my friends, be prepared to be freaked out. I haven't opened this up yet. I haven't even opened it up. But it popped up in my alert this morning, Science Alert, the mystery of Jupiter's shrinking great red spot might be solved. Well, I don't think they're going to solve anything. But let's find out what they have to say about this terrible storm. Well, I've shown exactly what it is, and I intend to do that again today. You see this? It's literally starving. Well, what does that mean? Let's take a look. Okay, my friends, this is going to be a hoot. This is Yale, from the Yale News, explaining Jupiter's great shrinking red spot. Well, a new explanation. Now, a steady diet of smaller storms may be what fuels Jupiter's great red spot, and a decline in these small storms may be causing it to shrink. Now, this is just right here, July 18th, 2024, and this is Jupiter's great red spot, which I have discussed in extreme detail, and as I will again today. And let me point out their points, and then I'll point out my points about what this great red spot is. First of all, they don't know much about it. Let me just explain to you. Okay, so this is the great red spot, and they're going to, we'll take a look at this, the great red spot. Hubble observes, takes a look at it. They got a really good telescope that can look at this pretty close, I hope, because I have some pictures that are stunning. And this guy, Caleb Kevaney, a PhD student, Yale's graduate students, is the lead author of this new study. Now, he's trying to make sense of what they're saying about this great red spot and why it's changing. Why is it changing? So it says some of the curiosity relating to the great red spot has to do with the many mysteries that surround it, despite the fact it has been studied extensively for hundreds, literally hundreds of years. Astronomers don't know precisely when the spot formed, why it formed, or even why it is red. They don't know anything about it, basically, is what they're saying. Now, for the study, this student, Kevaney, who is part of Yale's Department of Earth and Planetary Science, and they're looking at all these transient storms. What's causing all this? Well, let's look in a little deeper, because I have some serious information on this that I would like to talk to this fellow about. Okay, my friends, if you've been following me, you know exactly what I say this is, and it has nothing to do with being a storm. And it is a great red spot, that's for sure. Now, this is, they say, it's the iris in the gray eyeball of Jupiter revolving to gaze balefully out upon the cosmos, the great red spot, the single largest, longest-lived storm in the entire solar system. They don't know how long it's been there. Now, humanity has been observing it for centuries. Colossal anticyclone, currently a little bit larger than Earth, winds that howl around anti-clockwise directions, 680 kilometers, 425 miles per hour. As mighty as it rages, however, the great red spot significantly diminished since the first defined records of existence, 1831. The storm was once more larger, one over time it dwindled, and it dwindleth till today. Now, scientists now think they understand why. The great red spot feeds off of other smaller storms merging into it. I disagree. If there aren't those smaller storms for the great red spot to follow the subsume, and subsume, that's the first time I've ever heard of that, it will be unable to maintain its prodigious dimensions. So it has to literally consume, subsume, whatever that means. Now, quotation marks, many people have looked at the great red spot over the last 200 years and were as fascinated as I am, says astronomy PhD Caleb Kevaney of Yale University. Again, quotation marks. We found through numerical simulations that by feeding the Great Red Spot a diet of smaller storms, as has been known to occur on Jupiter, we could modulate its size. Well, the smaller storms are vortexes, and I'll show you that in a second. I have a whole different take on this. Now, once back in the late 19th century, the Great Red Spot spanned a whopping 39,000 kilometers across. Now it's just over a third of that width, 14,000 kilometers. Earth is 12,742 kilometer diameter, could still fit inside, but it's getting to be a tighter squeeze. We've never seen a spot this small, so relatively small. Now, scientists have been investigating this strange phenomenon, but it's a puzzler. I think we can solve this puzzle, and it's not going to be pleasant. Jupiter is very different from Earth and its weather much wilder. In spite of these differences, though, fluids such as atmospheric gases behave in certain ways that can be explored using the mathematics of fluid dynamics. And I will show you the mathematics of swirl dynamics. And while we can't extrapolate one-to-one the behavior of Earth weather onto Jupiter, we can use our understanding of Earth's atmospheric processes to try to figure out what is happening on Jupiter. This is what Kevaney and his colleagues have done. We know from research published in 2021, so they know this from some research here, that Jupiter's red spot effectively eats smaller storms. Well, I don't know if they know that or not. So they say it eats smaller storms it encounters, growing larger in the process. So the researchers used a simple phenomenon observed here on Earth to inform their models of Jupiter's atmosphere. In the jet streams that circulate through Earth's atmosphere, long-lived high-pressure systems called heat domes or blocks can form where the jet stream slows to a halt. These blocks can play a significant role in the heat waves and droughts as they trap warm temperatures below for long periods. The longevity of these blocks has been linked to anticyclones and other smaller weather phenomena. Equipped with this information, the researchers, I got to be honest with you, I don't think this has anything to do, well, I know it has nothing to do with the Great Red Spot. But they simulated these interactions. So they created a simulation. Now, it says they found that when a smaller storm encounters the Great Red Spot, the former storm would maintain its size or grow, compared to simulations without these interactions. And the degree to which the spot was sustained was stronger if there were more interactions. So this is a simulation. Finally, the strength of the smaller storm played a role too. A stronger storm gave the red spot a bigger boost. Now, there's nothing we can really do about the Great Red Spot. You're right about that. Jupiter is going to Jupe. And you're right about that, too. We're just here to enjoy the show. Enjoy, I don't know, my friends. But learning about its amazing atmosphere can help us better understand the way weather works on our own planet, which is pretty neat. Our study has compelling implications for weather events on Earth, this author Kevaney says. Interactions with nearby weather systems have been shown to sustain and amplify heat domes, which motivated our hypothesis that similar interactions on Jupiter could sustain the Great Red Spot. In validating that hypothesis, we provide additional support to this understanding of the heat dome on Earth. Well, I tell you what, we've got a vagina dome on Jupiter, and that's what it is an actual vagina. Okay, I believe you did see the relative sizes of the Earth compared to Venus, basically the same size. And the red spot is a little bigger than either one of them. Now this is basically just sort of a picture showing what it would look like if Jupiter in fact did give birth to Venus or Earth from the Great Red Spot. And it was recorded not long ago, about 3,500 years ago. Jupiter did give birth, literal birth, to Venus from the Great Red Spot, which just happens to actually be a vagina. I know it sounds insane, and now if you don't want to see very graphic vagina, very graphic, So it's, you watch it or don't watch it. It's up to you. It's coming right now. Okay, like I said, this is kind of graphic, but this is identical to what is on Jupiter. And this was where Venus came out of a vagina. Now, this is the spot that is there's no denying this. That little tab right there, and there's a little, let me see if I can come in real close on that so you can see. You see that little strap coming away from it there? You see it right there? That little strap is the anchor for the vagina. And it also is up on Jupiter. Now, this bump is called the Venus Mons, and that is what's creating the red spot. It's swirling through the gases. I'll show you in a minute. Now, you got all of the tissue layers, the labia minora and majorna, and the urethra and the clitoris, the vestibule, the vaginal opening, all that stuff is there. It's all there on Venus. I mean on Mars, Jupiter. It even has the hairline, the vaginal canal. There is a storm swirling, yes, but it's the gases swirling. It's not a storm. It's the gases swirling as they cloud away and vortex away. I will show you right now. Don't forget exactly what you see. That's the key right there. That's the clincher. Now, this is pretty hard to deny. Everything I just showed you is in this picture right here. This is literally the hairline. All right, they're saying it's feeding off these small storms. Those aren't small storms. That's the hairline. Here's the clincher right there. That's what I showed you before. There it is. That literally cannot be denied. How are you going to deny that? That is it right there, my friends. That is the tab that locks the vagina into the body of a creature, in this case, Jupiter, because these gods they're creatures, and they can change forms. They can be female, they can be male, they can be anything they want, and they can be as big as they want or as small as they want. All you have to do is read Ovid, Metamorphosis. He starts out, the first thing on this like gigantic epic work, the first words are, I intend to show you creatures turned into landscape. And then he talks about how there's all kinds, they can become fungus or mushrooms or plants or constellations or rivers, anything they want. And that's why they turn themselves into really hot looking gods to come down and have sex with the women. So they must have some kind of libido going on with them. But anyway, this is the vaginal canal. It has the ripples, it has everything. The whole 9 yards is there, and it is there, and that's where the Venus came from. It's all recorded in history. All you got to do is read Velikovsky. Everybody had the same story, that a fiery comet came from the feared god Jupiter. So it says. Here it is right here. In mythology, Venus is the daughter of Jupiter and Dione, and the goddess of gardens. And then they say, other people say Venus is the daughter of Uranus and Gaia. Uranus is the sky, and Gaia is the earth, which that is not true. I'm going with Jupiter gave birth to Venus. And Venus was literally sent to wipe out the monsters on earth. Now notice they say she. I don't think it is a she. I think Venus was a he, although they always say Athena and all these other names of a female goddess that slew the earth. But I'm starting to think it was a male god, that it could have been Jupiter's son. I don't know. I just want to make something. I don't know. They're saying is Venus the daughter of Jupiter. Well, it might have been the son of Jupiter. Venus was a live birth. Whether is Venus a female goddess, or is it, what is it? I don't know. All right, they're saying that Venus is the Roman goddess of love and beauty. She's a counterpart of the Greek goddess Aphrodite, and the planet Venus is named after her. So they give her a female persona. Now, they give Venus a female persona, but they can change themselves into anything they want, because Jupiter is Zeus, and who was a male persona who was coming down having sex with all the women on Mount Olympus, and obviously had a vagina. The big red spot is a vagina. So this is exactly what Ovid says. Okay, my friends, again, the red spot on Jupiter, that is the clincher right there. If you can't see that and you don't understand it, that is the lock that locks that body part, which happens to be a vagina. And I mean, everything is exactly what it is. And it says in the ancient text that that's where Venus came from, was the feared god Jupiter gave birth to a fiery comet, which turned out to be Venus. Now, this is not a storm. You see this? Jupiter spins this way. All the clouds are trying to keep up with it, but it's spinning under the clouds. Venus Mons is a bump. It's a big bump. And it has to plow through all this heavy, dense cloud. Jupiter is so gigantic that the cloud layer is almost like water. It's almost like liquid. This has to go through it. And as it comes through it, you see it? Here comes Jupiter. It's spinning this direction. Well, the clouds are trying to keep up with it, but they can't. So they're lagging behind. This is plowing through the clouds. And the clouds are just swirling around it. Because it doesn't take much of a bump there, but it is a pretty good sized bump, I believe. And it's called a Venus Mons. That's what it is, which is just exactly the same thing as what's above a vagina on a female. So that's the reason it's swirling like that. It has nothing to do with a storm. It's trying to get through those clouds. And when it did come out of there, it spun backwards. So in other words, it normally would go that way. When it popped out, it would have just rolled backwards like this. And it does, it spins backwards. So all these things are explained if you just think about what was written. Now there is another thing that's written in the ancient texts. Again, I can't say whether this is true or not true, but you see these rings of Saturn? There's a ton of debris that's circling Saturn. And it's said that Saturn was the supreme god of the solar system, was bigger than Jupiter. They had a fight. Jupiter won, smashed Saturn up, and sent it off on its own with all of its debris. And then also the stuff floating all around the solar system of actual body parts and so forth, which I show. So it's the most extensive complex ring system in any planet in the solar system. It's just got a whole bunch of debris around it. Now, I have shown that, where is it? These things are floating around in space. Like this right here. That's Comet 67P. That's almost 10 years ago. Let me show you something. See this? This is from the European Space Agency. Follow this very carefully. They sent a lander up there. It was called the Philae lander. It landed somewhere down around in here. And it took some samples, and they tested the samples. They said, yeah, it's biological, it's organic. And then they sort of dropped it. Now, and I contacted them. I said, what you're looking at here is a hip. It's a body part. I don't remember if I said to him it was a hip, but I said it's a body part. And this is the ball, and it fits into a socket. That is streaming off literally blood. That's boiling off blood like a barbecue, because the sun is hitting it just right. All the astronauts say in space, it smells like steak. They go out on spacewalks, they come back, take their suits off, and it smells like a sirloin. That's the artery. All that blood is because it's being cooked. This is all being cooked in little tiny blood vessels. It's not gassing off your hair. There's no gassing off your hair. There's no gassing off your hair, none over here. Only where the blood vessels are sticking up, and they go all over the place to feed all of the tissues. You don't have anything feeding here because that's well, I'll show you what it is. All right, let's go through the soup here. Here's what you got. This is one shot showing all of the blood vessels coming out, and this is February 2015. So that's shot number one from this angle. Now, that is a hip socket. Here it is from a different angle. That's the hip socket ball and a fracture up in here. And this is ripped out of a body of some gigantic creature, and I mean it is gigantic. I think they landed somewhere down around here. And again, this European Space Agency, the Philae lander, this is Comet 67P. There's a big long name for it, Comet Churyumov or something like that. But anyway, so that was the hip socket with the ball, and here it is here. Here's how they break. We're looking at the ball and the fracture. I think the fracture for us is up here somewhere, or maybe even right there. I don't know, but it's this joint. Now, so we got this, and we got this. Now this is what it looks like when it has all the stuff attached to it. There's tendon and stuff like that attached to it, and as we know, there's a little bit of blood coming here and there, probably to service this muscle or whatever it is. But this is it right here, and so we should be able to find some tendon in there. So let's see if we can find any tendon, muscle attachments, any of that. Here we have it right there. This is the ball, and here is the muscle attachment or tendon. This, I can tell you, I have no question whatsoever, that's tendon. Those, you see these here? Those are tendon fibrils. Now this, I'm not positive. This could be muscle. Well, there's no question it's some kind of biology. And I think it's muscle, because I think this right here is mostly red blood that's just sort of eroded and dusted off of here. Although it could have come from up here and just sort of filtered down. I don't know. But muscle has a lot of red blood, so that could easily be just eroded out of the muscle right here, which I think probably is the case. The lander landed somewhere down in here, and you wouldn't even see it. It would be about the size of one of these little dots. This thing is enormous. It's not some little puppy. Let me show you what it looks like on top of Raleigh, North Carolina, and then with, you see down here? I'm going to show you what it looks like right down in here with the pyramid, the Great Pyramid down right in here in that little debris. All right, so here we go. Hold on a second. That's the pyramid. That's the Great Pyramid. Down in where that little dust is, down where I showed you before. This is right here. No, that's the pyramid. Now, where do you see Raleigh, North Carolina? All right, now don't forget, I'm saying that is right down in this little dusty area here. All right, now, Raleigh, North Carolina is right here. Look at the size of this. This is a pretty, yeah, I believe this is accurate. I don't know for sure, but I believe it is accurate. And this is Raleigh, North Carolina. That's how big this would be. All right, and that's a hip joint of something, some gigantic creature. Now, is that just, it's insane? Yes, absolutely, no question whatsoever about that. However, has anybody ever talked about something like this in history? Absolutely. They all talked about gigantic creatures in the skies having battles, fighting each other, and we always thought it was just sort of some silly thing. But they actually said they could see people fighting gigantic creatures, absolutely gigantic. And I think the ones like the chariots and all that, I think they could make themselves anything they wanted. And so they were fighting each other in the skies with chariots, and they wanted to appeal to the local population as, you know, here we're using the same kind of weapons you use and we're going to fight, or I don't know, I have no idea what went on there. But they did say they could see, and that's why you show all these archers in the sky, and you show the spear throwers and all these different constellations, we think they're constellations. They might be. But they were originally, I believe, they could see these people actually doing these things in the sky. And they manifested themselves as those creatures, just exactly like Ovid said they could. No problem whatsoever. Metamorphosis. They could turn themselves into constellations. Alright, this is what they claim Saturn's rings are made out of. Now don't forget, in the ancient texts it said Zeus attacked Kronos, who is Saturn, and beat him up. And originally Kronos was the ruler of the golden age in this solar system. Then Zeus took over. Then everything went sort of not so good. It went into the Bronze Age, and then the giants and the monsters and all that stuff happened. And Zeus was the sexual god. So you could take it any way you want, but that's the way it happened. That's the way it appears to me. And that is, it sure looks like it could certainly be the remnant of Saturn being diminished in size. Now at the same time, Jupiter dispatched Venus to wipe out Mars. He says, take Mars out and teach Earth a lesson. And here's what happened. All right, there's Venus. That's what came out of the red spot. Now you see that? That's an arc. That's an electric arc. Anybody's ever done arc welding can tell you that's an electric arc. That's not a gouge or anything. And Venus spins backwards, so it'll be extremely overcharged. And its overchargedness hit Mars to destroy it. And it did. It destroyed all the atmosphere, all the moisture, all the gases, basically. Very, very limited amount of gases, just barely an atmosphere at all. And this gouge runs all the way across, which was the impact site, I believe, is here, coming this way. That's like the impact splatter of all that juice. Literally electric discharge. Right across. This is wider than the United States. And that's when Venus, which was recorded, hit Mars. And that's exactly what Velikovsky says. He says this stuff was all recorded. And I believe his research, because he was very meticulous. And he was no meatball. He was a very, very accomplished scholar and a friend of Einstein, which doesn't mean much, but he was. You see that? Just go look up Mars crab. There it is right there. They said, NASA said, oh, forget about that. This is NASA's picture. That's not my picture, that's NASA. And they're showing this thing down here, and everybody was commenting on it, saying it looks like a crab. Well, I knew exactly what it was when I saw it. It's a artery. And these are the blood vessels servicing these sarcomeres. That's these blocks here. And all these little straps are the connective tissue. I'll show you in a second. These are the blood vessels from this red artery, and this is the blood that has just dissolved off of here, sort of dusted off. There is no erosion on Mars because there is no water up there. All right, so that just piles up. Like there's no rivulets here whatsoever, and that's just impossible to have happen on Earth. I have another one from Mars that absolutely proves it's Mars, because I get this all the time. That's not Mars, that's Devon Island. Well, Devon Island has the exact same stuff. There's no difference whatsoever. Except you're going to have rivulets and you're going to have erosion on Devon Island. You show me something on Devon Island that has no water erosion whatsoever, and then we can talk. And you're not going to be able to do it. Now, here's what I'm saying. That right there, my friends, is sarcomeres. And here are sarcomeres in muscle. Same stuff. These right here. And all that little connective tissue here, all the other stuff drains out of it or dusts out of it. It's just dry. There's no runoff. Now here on Earth it's different. I have the same thing here in my shop, but it's small. Where'd it go? Here it is. This right here is the same thing. That's an artery. This is all red blood. It was, and it just washed out of here because red blood is fluid. It just runs out. On Earth, any water just washes it right out like it wasn't even there. It just washes. Look at it, washing it away. So the legs, it would have been all over the place here, just like they are on Mars. They're not there because it just washes away. This is where the blood comes out. See the pink? and this is all brown. This is a tendon. This is where it transitions into muscle, and this is where it breaks off at the abrupt transitions. There's one right here, and that's where it really gets into muscle and it's done. Over here it's pretty tough, mineralized. Here it doesn't even require blood. That's why it's so brown looking here. Now there was a bone right here. What you're looking here, you see that round thing right there? Look at that very carefully. You see that round thing? And the bottom of the round thing comes around and the bottom comes out to here. The round thing comes around and the top comes out to here. This is right dead center in this tendon. Alright, so this thing here is dead center. That means this tendon can go this way and this way on that pin. That's what locks it in to the bone. You see it locked in here? There's some kind of structure here that locks it in to the bone right here. That allows it to sort of pivot a little bit like this on that pin. And this is the abrupt transition, and that's where the muscle is. And this is all muscle fibers out here. And this is tendon. This is tendon fibers that run back and anchor this into like a shoulder or something. This is where the red blood was. Right there. See that? That's this right here. The bone isn't showing up here. The bone is over here. Anyway, that's what it is. Now, the sarcomeres would be in here. They have eroded out. And a tiny, 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 tiny little sarcomere. So you wouldn't see them here. You need an electron microscope to see them. However, everything I'm showing you is in absolutely gigantic proportions. So therefore, the sarcomeres here, you can easily see. And all of the reddish stuff just erodes away and you get these blocks. These same blocks are at Petra. And Petra is exactly the same. It is an artery. They carved the whole thing of Petra into one big gigantic artery. And all around it is the sarcomeres, the whole thing around it. All of that whole area is just nothing but sarcomeres. And they are enormous. They are enormous sarcomeres. They're every bit as big as these. And these are pretty good size. Alright, I showed you up on Mars, the Mars crab, which is the artery, and the sarcomeres. Well, guess what? This is Petra. And that is the exact same thing. That is the artery right there. They carved all this in. And these are gigantic. These blocks here are absolutely huge. And these are the sarcomeres. You see that? That's what is one of these sarcomere blocks. You see it right here? Take your time and look at the layering and look at the block right down here and look at this color and this color. This is one sarcomere. Now, it buttressed up against the artery. This is one big gigantic artery. There's sarcomeres over here too. The artery is right in the center. And they feed a whole batch of muscle just as this did as well. And the whole thing was nothing but blood, and they just turned it into a beautiful sculpture. And here's, as you can see from a distance, is right here. You see that? That's Petra. All these are sarcomeres. You see those? Those are all sarcomeres. Let me just home in close so you can see. You see those? Those are all sarcomeres in those walls. Exact same thing that's on the side of Petra right there. I showed you before. Now, inside Petra is nothing more than biology again. Above Petra is nothing more than biology. Now, up at the top, you had connective tissue start to mix in with the muscle. And that I can show you as well. That's up in this area right in here. The connective tissue is coming in to Petra, into the muscle. And right here, now this right here is one of the arteries that runs down here, and another one runs over this way, and another one runs over this way. And then they have all kinds of little blood vessels running out of them to service all these tissue. Every single one of these has to be serviced with blood. Every single cell. Now remember I told you down below you've got the blood vessel, the artery, and these are the sarcomeres. And then up above where the tendon anchors, you get these connective tissues. Whenever you see all that white fabric looking stuff, that's a connective tissue locking in so that you can pull against it. Now this right here is Petra. This is inside the treasury. They carved all this stuff right out while it was wet, while it was just wet. They said, make it nice, make it look good. That's blood. That's blood. Those are holes in there where blood is leaking out at one time. This is all connective tissue, and it's all, this is inside the treasury, probably inside of a blood vessel or something. All right, because this thing it's absolutely enormous. Enormous. Now don't forget, that's blood vessels, and you got the same thing up on Mars, is the same blood vessels, the same Mars crab as, an artery, only they didn't carve a thing into it. This is huge. I don't know what the actual scale is, but it's good size. You would never see this. You need an electron microscope to see this in a human being. All right, so I showed you Comet 67P. I showed you Mars, all this story about Mars, but there's more stuff on Mars I can show you. I guess I should. I showed you about Jupiter giving birth to Venus. I showed you the vagina. All right, I showed you the actual birth looking thing. I showed you all about Comet 67P. I did not show you the Mars blueberries, which are the exact identical thing as the Moki marbles. Underneath, this is what they call a basement layer, and above is all the balls that would have held the interstitium in place. And this is also up on Mars, and these are the interstitium balls right here. These little round balls are the Mars blueberries, and these straps are what pulls the skin in and out, because this is nothing more than skin. Now again, this is huge. Now this is where I know where they're on Mars, because this just got dusted off. Down, all of the skin is the weakest part. The skin has just dusted away, dusted away, dusted away. No water erosion. Now, then you come to the straps. The straps are tougher, and then the balls are toughest. Now, here's what happened. This right here is lifted up. So the erosion happened, and it took away all the little strappy things and left the balls. But you can easily see there's never been a drop of water fell here. This can't happen. This cannot happen on Devon Island. So don't tell me this is Devon Island. Now, this is skin pinched together, skin pinched together, skin pulled apart. What does skin look like underneath? This eroded? Well, this is what it looks like, but let's see what it looks like anatomically. Okay, anatomically, where are you? There you are. Okay, here we go. Well, that was strange. Anyway, this is what is underneath this webbing, which I just showed you up on Mars. All the balls are here. And they have all these little straps. And everything else just withered away. And these normally would have been little sacks of water. But they've withered away, as you can see, up on Mars. And they are now little empty spaces. All the moisture was gone. It's gone. Gone, 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 gone. All right, so it doesn't rain. And this is what the pattern is left. That's the pattern, the same pattern as interstitium. Up here, it's unstretched or any of that. So it's sort of laying basically like you see it in this one here, just like basically like that. Now, how big does it get on Earth? Well, it gets pretty damn big. That is nothing more than skin in this particular shot. Underneath, this is this interstitium with the balls and the floppy little stuff and the red gooey stuff, which if this eroded away, this would turn into mud. The balls don't go bad. They will just drop and fall. The skin would just fall as well. But the balls do not erode. This would all turn into like a muddy slurry. Can that happen? Can we see that happen? Yes, we can. Where did it happen? Right here. Huntington Beach in United Kingdom. This, my friends, is the balls. They were in this wall. That wall was eroded away by waves, because this is an ocean, this is salt water, and it turned that into mud. All this turned into mud. And the skin, which was above, has collapsed. And that, my friends, is what these Moki marbles are. Now, this is in Huntington Beach in the United Kingdom, Huntington Cliffs, and it's fabulous, and it's amazing. Now, this right here is the Moki marble. Same thing as this, only smaller. And this was nothing more than skin as well, only this was a bigger creature. And that's what it boils down to anatomically. All right, so now where are we? Now we've gone up to Mars, and let's forget about Mars. We saw to show you how it got smashed and destroyed. All the different biology is up there, there's no question. We've gone through Jupiter and the vagina and all that business. We've gone through Comet 67P and the hip bones and all that. We went through the birth. Now, what about Comet Umau? What is that? Well, I know what it is. That, my friends, is a finger. Oh, come on, Roger. Yes, absolutely, no question about it. That is the joint of the finger. Now, this is the bottom of the finger. So it's like this. This right here is the joint. Up there's another little joint. This white spot runs down to this fiber emplacement. All right. Now, it's got all this tendon is still here. That white fabric, as you can see, coming down. Now, people say, oh, that's just an artist's renditions. No, what this is, it basically is a 2D CAT scan. What that means is they had taken about a bazillion pictures of this as it rotates from every single angle, picking up every single shadow and nuance, and then they take the picture of it. Exactly what they did with my Mudfossils. They did the 2D CAT scan, very, very illustrative. Now, again, that is the joint right there. You see these little fibers here? That's the seam of the joint. These are the fibers here. This is exactly what you see on a bone. You see that? The bone connects underneath. The tendon is here. And the tendon runs up, and then it connects up here to the tip. So you can do that. Now, this has, I was doing some experiments, but this shows a little better. That is this, where the tendons, they have to embed somewhere for it to pull. So you want to be able to pull that way and this way and all that. So that's right there where that is. Now, the other one goes this way. All right, because you got to go with, it's as simple as that. It's not a big stretch of the imagination. Now, this tendon, I think I have a shot. Hold on. Where is it? Here it is. This will give you an idea. It's not real good, but it's something. This is where the joint is right there. And that's where all that stuff locks in. And then all the other stuff locks in the other side. It comes down here, and we're going to see the black and the white here. So that what we're looking at is from here out. All right? And underneath, this is the bottom. Now, underneath here, there is some tendons. You see that tendon that's pulled up? Well, the one we're going to have is not pulled up. It's laying right down there. You see it? This little flat one. Now let's go back to where we were. Don't forget now, again, that's the joint. We're going to be looking down here is where it broke off. So right there, actually right at that knuckle is where we're going to be seeing. So here we go. Now here we are again. Here it is, just like that. That's the bend right there. That's all that little there's a bazillion fibers. Those fibers go through there. They lock into this side here. There's a million little fibers with balls in them. And that's what that is. That's how the tendon locks in so strong. See? Same thing there. You see all the little holes? Same thing here. Now, this I was playing around doing some stuff with this, with copper and things. But they all have the same thing. Where the tendon locks in, it has to anchor. It can't just lay on here. It goes down inside and anchors. Hold on a second. All right, this sort of gives you an idea what's going on. The tendon comes down. These are tendons. See, tendon, ligament, same thing. Tough, tough, tough. A zillion fibers. A zillion. A bazillion, zillion. They come down, and they come through, and they anchor to these little tiny balls on the other side. And you can pull, like you can pull some of them out, and you're going to be fine. But you break it up here somewhere, then you got big trouble. But down here, they can jiggle around a little bit. You know, they're tough. They're tough, tough, tough. Tendons are tough. All right, so let's go back to a maru. Now, what else do we see here? Again, here. This right here, as you recall, maybe not, this is grip skin. Grip skin is a very heavy coating of skin around your fingers, your toes, the palms of your hands, your feet. This, again, is that heavy-duty tendon that runs down and flares all these little particles. There's the seam, the bending joint. Here's the other side, same as this, but just on the other side. That comes down, and it's broken off right over the top of the knuckle. All right, and that's the black, and that's the white. You see it, the two, the vein and the artery. I know I've shown you some on other ones, but that's, you have to start to understand anatomy and really understand it well. That didn't just happen by accident, this thing. All right, that is a fingertip. I showed this to a very, very good anatomist, and he was, it's absolutely no question. However, he did not want to be quoted, which I understand that. Now, Avi Loeb is a Harvard professor, and I tried to contact him, and of course that didn't work out well. And he's saying this could be a spaceship. It's a finger, Avi. Let's talk, brother. Let's talk, man. This is a finger. There was battles in the heavens. Saturn was destroyed, and Jupiter took over, and this is the remnants that's just floating around. Everything I have found, I mean literally everything coming through space, was alive at one time. Meteorites, it was saturated with blood. Hearts, they went to Bennu. They just went out there and just landed on it. That's a heart. Let me show you something. I don't need to see that one. This is Bennu and Psyche and a heart. That's Bennu. You see it? That's the two heart valves. Well, actually, there's 3, 4, actually. And here they are right here. And this is Psyche. Same thing. It's another heart. And that's the heart where you get down to the valves. And this is saturated with blood, and that is saturated with blood. And this one here cooked off, as it must have come close to a planet or something, and it singed and smelted some of the outside edge, because that's nothing but blood. This is just 100% blood almost, and this is as well, and they know that. Now they got that stuff, they brought it back to Earth, and inside what they took out of here, there's phosphates, which indicate the membranes. There's actually sarcomeres. I've seen the sarcomeres. They actually have sarcomeres because they say it's clay and it's iron oxides. It's blood. It's blood, and they can easily sample it. And I know exactly what blood's supposed to have in it. I mean, exactly, not just close. I mean exactly. This is what blood has in it. This is a panel of all of the different metals that are in blood. If they find them in the whole blood with all these different quantities, and they're going to be fairly similar amounts. You know, they're saying here's the different elements, and here's the different quantities compared to one another. And it goes all the way up to uranium, you know. You have less than a bazillionth of a microgram, but some of them you have a pretty good amount. And some of them not much. Zinc you have a pretty good amount, copper pretty good amount. Vanadium not too good. But of iron, you're almost 100% iron in your blood. These are all the extra stuff that's in there people don't even think about. That's why they did this study, to see all these what's in it, and it not only is in whole blood, because this is the thing, I don't know where they landed. This is whole blood. If you go down here, we got it in serum and plasma. Here's the plasma. And this is a different, because whole blood has all of it, it's all set up to go back and nourish your body. Plasma is where, you know, most of the good stuff is out of it. And then you've got serum, which is really all of the good stuff is, I don't know. I don't want to say things that I'm not right, but there's 3 different styles, and it depends where they landed on that heart. And it is a heart. You want to see something? Watch this. All right, they've been studying this for years. They sent a spacecraft up there. It landed one place or another up on here, and they went and grabbed some stuff and came back. Didn't they notice this? That tube is coming out. It's not a crater. This tube is coming out. It's not a crater. These are valves. These different colorations are colors of blood, black, red, and yellow. This is the tendon that surrounds the edge of the heart and wraps to the muscle, which gives it the ability to, it's like twists actually. And these 2 valves, they come in and out and in and out and in and out, that type of thing. And that is literally a heart. Nobody could see that? Nobody could see these tubes coming out of it? It breaks right off here, and you get to these valves. And these are the valves that we're seeing up there. It's hard to believe they can't understand what they see. It's just pretty damn obvious to me. And the metals are there. It's all metal. That's why that thing smelted. And this is what you're looking at right here and right here, right over here. And here is the tendon here. The gooey stuff and the plumbing up here, that takes off. It just goes away most of the time. Which you can see, it's gone. It's gone. And even in the hearts I have here, most of the time that goes. I have some that still have the plumbing, but not too often. I've shown you, everything I've shown you that's in space is a biology. It's biology. And they have this stuff on Earth right now from Bennu. And it is membranes, sarcomeres, clay, all the stuff that's in the blood I just showed you will be in that sample. And there's no reason to examine that for 10 years. And this is the kind of stuff they want to do with it. Oh, it'll be years before we know anything about this. No, I don't think so. I think I know exactly what it is right now, and you do too. All right, now, I got to tell you, this is disturbing. This just happened a few years back, 2019. And it only lasted from the 5/25 till 6/1. That's only like 6-7 days. The red spot swelled up like this and started to slough off red slabs of whatever it was. I think it's blood, and turned into a rosy little, vagina instead of the elongated, which indicates to me that it's getting ready to go. And they did have another article just out the other day that all of a sudden they're seeing an increased activity on top of the red spot, an energy. So, all right, this is a little disturbing. There's a great red spot, and all of a sudden they're finding strange glowing vagina shape in the atmosphere above the great red spot. Never seen before. All right, so they don't know what to think about it. I say, I don't know exactly what to say at this point. You see this? Who decides what is true? You don't have to conform with peer review to come with something new that they won't examine to be true. What I'm showing you is true. And if you have a mind of your own, I want to comment and say, I think you're crazy or I think you're onto something. That's all.